I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Gerald Dorian. I went through the program probably 5 or 6 years after most of you guys. I graduated in '82. I found it to be very productive for me. I got to choose my own classes, what times, it worked for me because I wasn't an early riser, because I was constantly working after school. So at the traditional high school, I wouldn't get there till third period. But over at Maslow, I could arrange my classes towards the late afternoon, and I was able to take responsibility for myself. The one guidelines I remember, there 2 sets of guidelines. The only one that really sticks in my mind is take responsibility for your own actions. And even now, to this day, I try to live by, you do it, you gotta take responsibility for it. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, hey, you gotta take responsibility for that too. That's So I guess I disagree with you a little bit, but such is life. That's all I have to say.
I can remember the first day of the ribbon cutting ceremony, and just the excitement of just being there, basically, and just knowing it was something that I was doing for myself, like breaking away from everything else I ever knew. So I just have that vivid memory of that day of cutting the ribbon, and just basically Maslow was a time for self-reflection for me. And I feel like right now in my own life, at the age that I'm at now, that's where I kind of went backwards 20 years. So for me, that's very interesting, because I had gotten away from that before. And I'm kind of back, taking out the guitar and writing and things, just to kind of relax myself, because I'm a single parent of 2 girls, and I'm running all the time. So I just feel like I've gone back 20 years, and I really feel that's helped me immensely in my life.
I hear a lot nowadays a saying called it takes a whole village to raise a child. And that's how I kind of felt at Maslow. Like, we were a complete village and we were kind of raising each other. Milt had said to me one time, we were talking over a backgammon game, and I leaned over and I just said thank you, for everything that you've given me. And he looked at me and says, no, thank you for everything you've given me. And I never had a teacher or an adult say something like that to me before. And at forums, just looking around and being able to discuss things with people and not have it, you better than me, I'm better than you, you're stupid, I'm smart, this is wrong, this is right. Discussions. I'm currently in the Brentwood school systems, and I'm frightened. I can kind of identify with where Steve is coming from. I'm very frightened. I was lucky enough to have a structured environment at home, and then to come to Maslow and be able to soar. I needed that structure, I needed those boundaries at home, but I also needed a place where I could figure out where I was going. And that's what the kids today don't have. They don't have that structure at home, learning to take responsibility for their own actions. It's very frightening out there. We learned to be tolerant of each other, to care about each other's feelings, to look at each other's lives as individuals and respect the individuality. Now it's almost a sin to be an individual. If you don't wear your pants halfway down, you're behind, and your hair a certain way, you're crucified by other people. And I feel for these children nowadays in the systems, because there's no place for them out there. There really isn't.
You don't think it was kind of the same?
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Way back then?
Wasn't as violent.
Because, yeah, wasn't as violent.
You didn't get stabbed for thinking.
And I think that...
I'm so naive a lot of times, and I keep wanting to think that way. I always say, God, is it that bad out there?
I know.
And I try and think back, and yeah, there was this, there was prejudice, there was styles, and there was peer pressure. It was all there. So what is, is it that much worse today?
I don't think we lived our lives
They
through
kill
the
each
rose
other.
I
colored
look at
glasses
I look
that
at my
kids have on
children and
today.
I'm like, I'm turning into my father. Of course, most people say. You know, with my son on these pants, why you had to wear? And I think, I'm sure the ways that I dressed and the way I wore my hair and I had an earring, my parents didn't like these things. So I'm going through the same. I mean, isn't it kind of the same?
And
They're considering lowering the age to try a teenager as an adult in most states in this country. The
I'm
teenagers-
disturbed about hearing those type of things.
People are killing
Also,
each other
who
for
wouldn't
starter jackets. Life has, you know, it was, when they had us in experimental school in 1974, we came out of a generation of people that had some sort of morality. Now you're dealing with teenagers who, taking responsibility for one's actions was never foundational. So that's not something you learn in a year in an alternative school.
But I
a
think,
child
You learn that
has to-
from your parents.
Where does,
Yes.
where does hate come
Right, you
from?
learn that
A lot of it
from-
is
I don't
hate.
think you can say it's from a
Parents.
school. I think
That's
today
right.
it takes two
Exactly.
parents
See,
to
that
get
was
out
what-
there
that was
and
the
work,
point I
and
was
there's
trying to
nobody home
make.
taking care of the kids.
I think that we can make a difference. I think that we can raise our children. I know that I tell my son, I'm proud of you. I'm glad you did that. Thank you. And just a little example, when my father-in-law, you know, took him to the bathroom, he's 3, and my father-in-law said, hey, that's great, you did a great job. He said, aren't you going to tell me you're proud of me? Because he wants that. So he's already seeking what he needs, okay, because I want to teach him that. When you go to Toys R Us, many of us that have children, there are 3 aisles in Toys R Us with heroes, weapons, guns, swords, and all of the like.
You know, we
Always
had
work.
that too.
Always work.
All right?
There always was that.
Well, I mean, I just think that we could teach our children differently,
We
too.
will. You will and I will, but there's a fine line. I would never, ever judge anyone as far as which direction their child took or which direction they took. Because there's a very fine line.
I'm
As
just-
we all know, of when someone can go this way or that way, and what John said, if they happen to go the wrong way, as long as they learn from it. That, and as long as we're there with them as parents,
Well,
and
Jeffrey
as neighbors
Jeffrey
and as
Dahmer just
friends.
learned from his
Yeah, well, it
mistakes.
depends on
See,
what
you're going to an
scraps
extreme. You're going to...
Yeah, but he's
Hit
right
with
though, it
five
depends on what
mistakes,
scraps
so I
they
guess.
leave behind when they go wrong too. I
Well,
mean, you don't want to
we're
leave in your
talking,
wake.
I'm talking about violence, I'm talking about drugs, I'm talking about majority of children. What's the biggest concerns of parents of children?
Well, from what you see now, it's happening.
Not the minority of
No,
some,
right, but the
some
horrors
serial
are happening
killer.
now
I
under
don't know
a
if
structured public school environment.
So you going back to you think?
I'm
that
going right now,
structure-
1993, 1994, school environment is structured and everything is going to crap. So if that's the argument that we need structure, it
I
isn't
don't think
working.
so. I think that the
You know what I
school
mean,
system-
Steve? Yeah, well,
I'm
that's what I'm
saying
saying.
that there needs, of course, there needs to be a body of people. Again, it takes a village to raise our children. But we're taking some of those alternative concepts that have not been, and we're talking 20 years later, and there still hasn't been any statistics put
Any
together
accounting
our
for what
class,
you
20
feel
years
like-
later.
But I
going
don't
on?
agree that there wasn't any structure. There was
No,
structure.
I'm not saying that there wasn't. My argument isn't against structure or pro or against structure. My argument is that will that alternative education, will that test work in the 90s without the kids, us, who had some sort of moral upbringing? Would it work now with a child who can't even operate in the halls of Brentwood High School without sticking a gun in someone's face?
I think that
Maybe that's the point.
we would
They're
talk
not
morals.
working- what they're doing right now is not working.
Our situation.
Well, maybe they need an
Which
alternative.
That's right.
they're not allowed to
And
do.
teachers like we had,
Right.
yourself, if number one, there's only 100, how many students?